Welcome to the Time Management Podcast with me, your host, Abigail Barnes. I'm a productivity coach, global speaker, time management author, and award-winning entrepreneur on a mission to share the 888 formula with the world and to remind you that it's your time. Leave it to me to bring you new time management tips, tricks, tools, and strategies, to introduce you to guests, research, and case studies from around the world, and to give you a simple 5-step process you can follow to uplevel your productivity, achieve your goals, and create a life that exceeds your wildest dreams. I'm so excited that you're here, so let's get started. Welcome to the show. I am so excited to welcome Melanie Moore, this week's guest, on to the show. Melanie, so lovely to have you.
Hi, Abigail. It's so lovely to be here. And thank you so much for having me on.
I literally cannot wait to dive into this week's conversation. Melanie and I have been having some fun chats in the background, and all I can say is you are going to love this week's episode. Without further ado, let's dive straight in. Who is Melanie Moore in a nutshell?
In a nutshell, right, let's do this. I'm also known online as a big vision coach because I like to help my clients to tap into their big vision. And the use of the word tap is literally to tap into, literally, through, what is that big vision that's been sat inside of you your whole life, but also use tapping, EFT, as a tool to then help people get clarity on that vision, but then also as a motivational tool to help people to take action as well, which we're going to be talking more about in this episode. And I really especially love to help women who are at crossroads in their lives to get clear on their purpose, their mission, their vision, and to change the trajectory of their lives as well, from the one they thought they were heading towards to the one that they were always meant to go towards as well.
I'm so excited to unpack this. Talking about time, tell us, what was your relationship like with time in your early years?
Well, I'm a Pisces, which we discovered a little bit earlier in our conversation. And I think I've always kind of been a head in the clouds kind of a person. Even as a child, I was away with the fairies. Honestly, I've probably not, and again, I have no judgment on myself because, as we say in the tapping word, I love and accept all the parts of me, even the parts of me that are a bit flaky, the parts of me that are a little bit running a bit late. I have 2 children who are so punctual, so organized, and I know that they've come into my life to balance me out a bit. And again, my partner, super organized with time so that I can actually just be me because I've got other people around me to help keep me organized. So yeah, I would say I was always that person who was running a bit late, leaving things to the last minute. I remember at university, I had 6 months to write my dissertation and I did it in 48 hours before it was due in. So yeah, I think that gives you a little bit of indication with what my relationship with time has been like. But I've also recognized that I've also spent a lot of time trying to fight that as well, beating myself up over it, but actually just accepting I do operate better under pressure. Leaving things to the last minute might not be the best thing to do, but actually I get stuff done. I like working late into the night. So I've actually learning to embrace the way I am, but also recognize that I need to put some practices in place to keep me more on track, to have people in my life to keep me organized. Does that make sense, Abigail?
It makes so much sense. Thank you so much for sharing and being so vulnerable. And for those listeners who have been following the conversation about human design over the last few episodes, Melanie's actually a manifesting generator. And the thing to know about manifesting generators is they are multi-passionate people who have the ability to create absolutely insane results in short amounts of time, but to an outsider look like they are flaky, look like they are a frog hopping around, look like they don't know what's actually going on. And for me to speak about Melanie, I love listening to her in her YouTube channel. So she has been growing over the last few years, a very big YouTube channel where she puts videos every week of tapping that you can tap along to with her. And I think it's incredible to see that even if your time management doesn't look the same as the traditional time management, you can still achieve amazing results. Let's talk about EFT and tapping. I want to dive straight into what it is. And for somebody somebody who might be feeling overwhelmed with their time, who might be resonating with how you're describing your time management, let's also do a round of tapping in this as well. Let's start with EFT. What is it?
EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and it's like a cross between acupuncture, but instead of needles, we use our fingertips to tap on these certain acupressure points on our face and also on our torso, on our hands as well. It's got its links to traditional Chinese medicine, hence reference to acupuncture, but it's also combined with modern day psychology, where it's a talking therapy as well. It's great for overcoming things like stress, anxiety, overwhelm, phobias, addictions. And it's also great for, because it's got emotional freedom technique, to free us up from emotions that keep us stuck, like just the ones I've just mentioned. But it's also, because it's a feelings thing, an emotional thing, what actually sits behind the emotion, what causes the negative emotions, is the thoughts that we are thinking in our head. And it's actually the thoughts that create the feeling. The feelings don't arise from nowhere. It's the narrative that's going on in our head. So the reason tapping is really powerful is because it tackles the story that's going on in our head that's creating the feeling. So it could be like, oh my gosh, I've got so much to do, I'm running out of time, I've got this project, I've got these deadlines. Stress then rises in our body. We can then move into flight or fight or whatever stress responses come up as a result of just those words. The tapping script is very, and particularly I really am conscious about the language I use. We call it a round of tapping because there's kind of a formula that it follows. Firstly, we address the feeling and the thought that's going on in our head, and then we work on letting that go. First part is acknowledging what is, even though I'm feeling stressed, anxious, overwhelmed, or I'm worried or scared, or I am anxious and fearful, I choose to love and accept myself anyway. So that's kind of the first part. The second part is then working on letting that go. So even though I'm releasing that go now, I'm letting that go now. So this is where the emotional freedom technique, we've got to, we hear it in personal development world and in therapies, that you've got to feel it to heal it. This is the feeling bit where we're sitting with the emotion. We're not denying it. We're not suppressing it. We're feeling it. And then we allow it to come up and out. And this can be this is the emotional release. It can feel like quite tearful. A lot of people cry at this stage. And then the third part of we call it the club sandwich, is focusing on what you want instead. The calm, the peace, the good feelings, and the story. So instead of saying, I'm running out of time, you can then just flip that by saying, I have all the time I need to do all the things I want. I choose to trust that this project is going to be done in perfect time. I choose to know that I'm a magician and I can bend time and I will get this done. So it ends with like a positive. So I always like to end on a positive, which miraculously then changes our state. We're suddenly feeling more empowered. We're feeling more clarity, get the project done and get on with our lives rather than sitting in there in that soup of toxicity. So that's kind of what tapping is, and it's very safe. Anyone can do it. Even children could do it. My children have been tapping ever since I have. They were probably about 5 and 7 when they started tapping with me, and tapping for children, I couldn't think of a better thing that parents can do with their children that will give them emotional resilience and to give them amazing tools the rest of their lives that they can then use. I'm a massive advocate for tapping.
What I'm hearing you say is that the emotional freedom technique is our ability to release feeling that we have in the moment by tapping on certain points of or parts of our body. Rather than keep talking about it, let's go through a round of tapping for somebody who is feeling overwhelmed by their to-do list. That feeling has taken over their chest, they can't breathe. What do we do next?
Okay, right. Let's just go straight into it. Firstly, do as I do, say as I say, and just tap on the points after me. And honestly, the first time you try it, you're going to feel a bit weird, a bit bonkers. I know I certainly did, but just do it. Trust me, just do it. I remember doing this with my very skeptical brother he had an irritated eye, and literally by the end of it, his eye was feeling fine again. He goes, I don't know what just happened there, bit of witchcraft, but it's gone. I don't really need to know any more than that. So we're starting here on the karate chop point, which is where we call it the setup phrase. So the setup phrase is going to be based on the overwhelm and the to-do list. Do you want to be my echo and repeat after me, Abigail? Even though I'm feeling so overwhelmed right now.
I'm feeling so overwhelmed right now.
I've got a to-do list as long as your arm.
I've got a to-do list as long as your arm.
And I don't even know where to start.
And I don't even know where to start.
I choose to deeply and
I
completely
choose to deeply and completely
love and accept myself anyway,
love and accept myself anyway,
even though
even though
I'm feeling so stressed and overwhelmed.
I'm feeling so stressed and overwhelmed.
And sometimes when I feel this way,
And sometimes when I feel this way,
I can be so stuck in the overwhelm
I could be so stuck in the overwhelm
that I end up doing nothing at all.
that I end up doing nothing at all.
And then I feel even worse.
And then I feel even worse.
Despite that,
Despite that,
I choose to love and honor
I
myself,
choose to love and honor myself,
even though
even though
I'm so overwhelmed right
I'm
now.
so overwhelmed right now.
I'm ready to release this story.
I'm ready to release this story.
I'm ready to change the narrative.
I'm ready to change the narrative.
And I choose to deeply and
And
completely
I choose to deeply and completely
love, honor, and forgive myself.
love, honor, and forgive myself.
Now we're going to go through the tapping points. Start off on the eyebrow point here where the eyebrow meets the bridge of the nose. All this overwhelm.
All this overwhelm.
Side of the eye, I'm so stressed.
I'm so stressed.
Under the eye, I've got so many things on my to-do list.
I've got so many things on my to-do list.
Under the nose, and I don't know where to start.
And I don't know where to start.
On the chin, I'm so overwhelmed.
I'm so overwhelmed.
Collarbone, but I'm ready to release this story.
But I'm ready to release this story.
Under the arm, ready to release this feeling.
I'm ready to release this feeling.
Top of the head, I'm letting go of this overwhelm.
I'm letting go of this overwhelm.
Letting go of this story.
Letting go of this story.
That I have this really long to-do list.
That I have this really long to-do list.
Under the eye, that it all has to be done right now.
That it all has to be done right now.
Under the nose, all this overwhelm.
All this overwhelm.
Chin, I'm letting it go now.
I'm letting it go now.
Releasing this overwhelm.
Releasing this overwhelm.
I choose to feel more at peace.
I choose to feel more at peace.
Top of the head, I choose to feel calmer and clearer.
I choose to feel calmer and clearer.
Eyebrow, and I'm allowing myself to get focused.
I'm allowing myself to get focused.
Side of the eye, on the one thing.
On the one thing.
Under the eye, what's the one thing I need to do right now?
The one thing I need to do right now.
What's the one thing that will move the needle?
What's the one thing that will move the needle?
The chin. Because there is one thing I can focus on right now.
Because there is one thing I can focus on right now.
Collarbone. And maybe I can delegate some of the other things off my list.
And maybe I can delegate some of the other things off my list.
Whether it's to actual people.
Whether it's to actual people.
Or to the universe.
Or to the universe.
I'm just going to focus on the one thing right now.
I'm just going to focus on the one thing right now.
And I choose to know.
And I choose to know.
That I have all the time I need to do it.
That I have all the time I need to do it.
And I could even get it done really quickly.
I could even get it done really quickly.
Because then I'll create the momentum.
Because then I'll create the momentum.
To do the next thing.
To do the next thing.
I just need to take the first step.
I just need to take the first step.
I can do this.
I can do this.
I'm feeling empowered to do this.
I'm feeling empowered to do this.
I even want to do this now.
I even want to do this now.
Feeling excited to get started on this one thing.
I'm feeling excited to get started on this one thing.
Knowing that momentum will be created.
Knowing momentum will be created.
To do the rest.
To do the rest.
It's all under control.
It's all under control.
It's all happening under divine, perfect timing.
It's all happening under divine, perfect timing.
Because everything is happening exactly as it should.
Because everything is happening exactly as it should.
In body, mind, and spirit.
In body, mind, and spirit.
Take a deep breath. And exhale. Okay. How's that?
I feel so ready to get on with my to-do list.
Finish this interview first, Abigail.
That is absolutely amazing. So can we do this for other emotions that come up? Does it work for procrastination as well?
Oh my gosh, yes. I think that one would probably have worked for procrastination, because I think procrastination comes from overwhelm as well, because we just don't know where to get started. But I think that is probably a good round of tapping that you could do for both. I think because then it just gets you started. That when you start telling yourself, I'm excited to get started, because procrastination is really, oh my gosh, I don't know where to get started. And it's that loop. Oh, let's just go and, hoover the stairs instead. Let's go and do some laundry. But then when we tell ourselves, I'm really excited to get started, I'm just going to do the one thing. I'm just going to get focused. I'm just going to do it. It's going to take me half the time that I think it's going to take. You were talking about earlier about manifesting, and I didn't know this about manifesting generators. However, one thing I have been massively procrastinating on is a book I'm writing. And I've had a book in me. Well, I've actually got 3 or 4 books in me, which are all waiting to come out in their own time. And I've kind of made a lot of peace with that. And I'm actually getting back on my book writing at the moment. However, about a month ago, something else I had in me was creating a tapping course for children, Children's Emotional Toolkit. I created a whole course in a week, but it's taken me 10 years to get going with my book. So I think that sometimes we have these projects and things to do, and sometimes you've got to hand over a bit of trust to the universe and act on inspiration as and when it comes, and just get on with it and know that you can do it. So now I'm telling myself, because I've got the evidence, if I can create a course in a week, maybe I could write a book in a month. So this is kind of like what I'm playing with at the moment. So, this is real time stuff that I'm going through right now that I'm sharing. So yeah, I'm very much in procrastination and action taking on things as and when I choose to do them. So I think it's just telling yourself, but I've had to get the tapping into the clarity to like, okay, what is it I need to take action on right now? And it's just allowing the list to prioritize itself for you, and allowing whatever wants to come up to the top to be that thing that you do. And sometimes it is hoovering the stairs, but we don't want to keep hoovering the stairs.
I love this. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable and explaining. And really, I feel like what I'm hearing you say is that you trust your intuition and you respond when the energy aligns. And it all sounds a little bit woo-woo, but the more I have conversations with people who have achieved success in their life, the more I recognize that the people who are achieving are the ones who are trusting themselves, who are following their guidance in the way that they get their guidance. And I feel like a lot of airtime has been given to one way, and now more airtime and more awareness is being given to the fact that there are multiple different ways to get to the top of the mountain, for example. And I love, love, love hearing that you say that you were able to create a course in a week. And it gives people permission and proof to follow their own way of doing things. And we don't, all of us have a reliable source of energy when it comes to completing things. I've said on the podcast before, I'm a generator. So I wake up in the morning with a full battery of energy. And my job every day is to use that energy on the things that excite me. And if I use that energy on things that don't excite me, I can burn through that energy in a very, very short amount of time before it's time to go to bed. And if I do things and I haven't used up the energy, I then don't want to go to bed. But knowing about this for myself has been very helpful and very beneficial. Tell us when you came across EFT and how it changed your life at the time that you discovered it.
Well, funnily enough, I first discovered EFT for physical conditions, and I used to suffer from monthly migraines, and it would always be like, right, just pop a couple of ibuprofen, get through the next couple of days and you'll be fine. And I'd heard about EFT. Actually, which one was it? I can't remember. It was hay fever as well, with 2 things. Hay fever every year, and I suffered quite badly as a child, and probably right through to my 20s, early 30s, just wiped me out, the hay fever. I can't remember how, but I heard that tapping could be good for hay fever symptoms. So I thought, nothing to lose. I think it was actually hay fever first I did it on, and I thought, this is amazing. Just 1 round of tapping, my symptoms have literally gone. It's literally like popping an antihistamine. And I was like, how on earth did that happen? And then I thought, okay, if it works for hay fever, let's try it on these monthly migraines. And actually, I've both of those tapping videos are on my YouTube channel now. I created tapping videos for hay fever and migraines. And the comments I see from them, people say, I've just stumbled across your channel and literally my symptoms have gone. Or my headache was at a 10, is now a 3. And it's just like amazing. I thought, yes, it is amazing. And every time I see those comments, it's like, wow, I'm amazed that a complete stranger has taken the time out to write a comment on my YouTube channel to say that the tapping has worked. And I've since then gone on to do them for pain relief as well. Because again, if you can do it for a headache, why not? Because again, this was a client who had quite severe back problems, so she said it really helped. And of course, I have to caveat that with, please don't let the tapping video take the place of seeing a doctor or getting professional medical advice. It's there to support you. I've even got tapping video for alcohol cravings as well, which again, one of my clients asked me if I could do that, because I had one on my YouTube channel for sugar cravings. Then I thought, well, actually, if I could do sugar, why not alcohol? And again, amazing feedback on that. So, sorry, back to your question, how did I discover it? It was for the physical. And then because it worked for me, I thought I need to train in this. I was already a reflexologist and Reiki practitioner, and I thought that EFT would be an incredible tool to bring to my practice. At the time, I was helping women on their fertility journey. And eventually, the tapping overtook the other therapies because I didn't have to do them in person. I could do them online. I could do them, actually Skype at the time I was using, and then Zoom. And then actually I could do it to many people at the same time as well. So that's why tapping has really, that's how I discovered it. And that's how I've kind of gone down the rabbit hole of tapping.
I love this. If a client were to come to you, what would they be coming to you with? What challenges would they be experiencing? And how would you work with them through those?
So many different tapping practitioners out there that help support people with different areas. And I often, actually, people come to me and I often recommend them to other practitioners because they specialize in that area. Now, I like to help people use it as a motivational tool to help them to move forwards with their lives. So when people can either come to join my community where we work very generally, and there's a whole library of tapping videos that aren't on my YouTube channel, as well as ones that are, we kind of go a bit deeper, particularly when I work with clients one-to-one, which again, not so many of those these days, but I kind of identify, I also kind of developed a process called the TNT techniques. It stands for transformational neural technique, which I then have since, trademarked and registered, which is a combination of tapping and visualization. And I call it this tool to help clear the past so that we can clear the path ahead. Because very often the reason people can't move forwards on their path is because of stuff from their past. And this could be stuff from childhood. Generally, it's stuff from childhood and adolescence and stuff from our memory and conscious awareness. But then sometimes it can be stuff that happened in the womb, stuff that happened generationally, so ancestrally through our mothers, grandmothers, obviously maternal and paternal line. So it could be stuff that that your parents went through, your grandparents went through. It could even, now we are going to go super woo here, it could even go to past lives as well. I've worked with people have come to me with an awareness of past life stuff, and again, this is something I don't actually offer unless we're one-to-one or in a retreat setting. I do take people on a past life journey sometimes as well, where it's fascinating what comes if you're open to it. And again, it's not for everyone. If you're willing to go there, and past life wounds can come up, which again gives us information which we can tap and release. Is incredible, but that might be a bit far down the rabbit hole.
I love a good rabbit hole conversation. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. And as with anything in life,
But just to bring us back out of the rabbit hole, I've seen so many people have an issue with public speaking because of memories from the classroom. And I've identified this for a lot of people. Do you remember when you're in the classroom and you're reading a book, say, and the book gets passed round the classroom? You've all got to read a little section each. And then did you do that at school?
I don't know if we did that, but I definitely have an incident from school that I really had to do a lot of work over. I stood up, I spoke, they laughed, they couldn't understand my accent. And I definitely feel like that is still in me with people don't understand my accent. They can't understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. So whatever your version of that is, and it's usually from the classroom, you got up to speak, you stumbled over your words or whatever. But for me, it was, and actually I was okay with it, but maybe I was an empath then. I could feel the energy of other people in the classroom think, oh my God, that person is so nervous. Then they'd have a stammer or they couldn't read properly. And the fear and the anxiety that was in them at that point has stayed trapped in their bodies. And for a lot of people, that classroom stuff, standing up to do a presentation or whatever, has just left them pretty much traumatized and then unable to feel confident in public speaking. So that's just something that's not so woo, and people might be able to resonate with your listeners.
Here's an ask for you. Could you do a round of tapping for us, 60 seconds, to release that fear that comes up the minute the spotlight is on you to speak in front of others. Obviously, for the more in depth, we need to go to your YouTube channel, but just in 60 seconds, can you demonstrate how quickly this can be cleared?
I'd go straight to the positive. I choose to know
I choose to know
that I can do this.
that I can do this.
I choose to
I
trust
choose to trust
that the perfect
that the
words,
perfect words,
the message I'm trying to convey,
the message I'm trying to convey,
will come across clearly and
will
confidently.
come across clearly and confidently.
I am confident in my communication.
I am confident in my communication.
I speak clearly with
I
ease.
speak clearly with ease.
I can do this.
I can do this.
I'm feeling really
I'm
confident.
feeling really confident.
I can speak easily and
I
articulately.
can speak easily and articulately.
I can do this.
I can do this.
And take a deep breath. And to condense, I might just say, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I've got this. I can do this. I can do this. It's just like mental brainwashing. I can do this. It's like giving yourself a little pep talk. You could just condense it down even more.
And would you say that there is one pressure point or one area that we could tap on for this in that moment?
I know I have this on my website because each of these points is related to a Chinese meridian point. And I think it's this one that's related under the eye. I think that's to do with fear, and I think overthinking as well. Because when this was first discovered by a psychotherapist called Roger Callahan, he was working with a patient who had an intense fear of water, hydrophobia. And he'd been working with this patient for weeks or months and not making any breakthrough. Then all of a sudden, he kind of had this very loose knowledge of traditional Chinese medicine. And he vaguely remembered that this was an acupressure point for fear. So he said in his practice, this is how the story goes, just tap on this point for me while you're talking to me about your fear. So she tapped and talked, and she said, I don't know what's happened. I've just felt this shift. And to prove it, went into his bathroom, splashed water on her face, and she said, oh my God, it's gone. And he's just like, what the F just happened there? And this is how tapping was born. And this is where I think tapping differs from traditional talking therapies, is because very often, again, the whole language thing, people go and circulate the same old problem, keep talking about it, resurrecting it. Let's keep raking over the past. Let's just keep talking and talking about it. And unless you process it and release it, you're just reactivating the trauma over and over and over again. And I know that when I did my tapping training, I had to do a whole load of stuff on abandonment issue from when I was 3. Very long story, but my mum, she thought she was doing the right thing. She sent me to be with her family in Thailand for 9 months. So as a 3-year-old, I was, in my world, sent away. I didn't see my mum and dad for 9 months. Even though I was loved and I had a great time, I was desperately homesick. And my earliest memory is of being homesick and sending a cassette recording to my mum, telling her how much I missed her. Now, when I used to tell this story, it used to just make me well up with emotion. And I couldn't recall my earliest memory without feeling really tearful, because it was a trauma that had been trapped in me. But when I did my training, I went deep into that 3-year-old trauma. I had the biggest emotional release. I literally sobbed so hard, ugly, snotting, the most tears I'd ever experienced publicly as well, because I was doing my EFT training. But then I had the most huge release. And now I can tell you that story with no emotion, because the emotions have all been healed from my body. And again, along with the story of abandonment issues that plagued me for a lot of my life during my training, it was all there from the 3-year-old. So that's why I think tapping is quite different from talking therapy, because you're not really processing and releasing, unless you have other tools. And there are other tools out there which can help you with emotional release. But obviously for me, it's tapping, because it's just what I've learned and what I'm comfortable with.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate your vulnerability and honesty there. And I really love that tapping can be so instantaneous that within 60 seconds we can change. And one of the things that I've started to do more over the last year is get into yoga. And I find that when I do yin yoga, it's really releasing energy that's trapped in my somatic body. And the more I understand about yin yoga and the fact that our body and our muscles hold on to trauma, it makes sense to me that when we would be tapping on parts, we would be releasing. And obviously, we've got reflexology, acupuncture, we've got all these modalities that have been used for many, many centuries. Why wouldn't it work? And I would say to anybody who questions the validity of anything, try it. If you feel better, then keep doing it. If you don't feel better, don't keep doing it. And this is what I love about EFT, is that the minute you do it, and one of the points that I love is this collarbone one, and I've sat in meetings tapping away, and I feel like this really grounds me in my body when perhaps the conversation is taking me into fight or flight, and I will just tap here and I'll feel very grounded, then able to continue with the meeting and the conversation. And I know that some people sometimes use different pressure points, and under the desk can use it.
There's a correct technique here on the nail bed, which you can do just quite discreetly. And I remember teaching my daughter that, so that she didn't feel self-conscious at school, or you could do it on the train, and this is a good one if you're in the car and you can just do a little bit. So if you're feeling a little bit like, oh my god, I'm gonna be late, just say, I have all the time, I'm gonna get there, perfect timing, green lights. Or sometimes I will tap on the word green lights, oh, green lights, thank you for saying green lights, because the narrative is, oh my god, I'm gonna be late, I'm running so late, oh my god, please don't turn red, but it's just like, focus on what you want instead. You want green lights, smooth roads, clear roads, empty. I'm going to be on time. Got a few got to hear thoughts in my head to think, she is a nutcase. Green lights and on time are the words I would focus on if I think I'm running late. Whereas most people is, oh my God. And then you end up attracting more traffic jams and more red lights and more frustration. So that's, my little secret tapping weapon for when I'm stressed.
I really love this. And for full transparency, I do exactly the same thing. If I'm on the train and I need to get somewhere and I want to get there by a certain time, I absolutely do not focus on the time. I do not focus on what is happening, whether the train stops or starts, whether we're stopped in a platform. I will say over and over in my head, I always arrive on time. I will be on time. I am on time. This is on time. It's all working out perfectly for me. And observing my mind that wants to go into, but this is the one day it won't. And then coming up with the opposite narrative. And so then just literally knowing that you can tap and you can hold parts of your body that nobody needs to know. And so if you're in a meeting and you're being asked to speak in the meeting and you're nervous, you can just sit there under the desk, as you're saying, doing this tapping of parts that nobody can even see. And it's just it's like a secret superpower. I love it.
It is. I've started referring it to as like a little magic wand that you have at your fingertips, that you can literally create the reality that you want. Share a really quick travel story. This was a couple of years ago. We were kind of in the aftermath of the pandemic, and there was a summer where the airports were just crazy. And my partner and I, where were we going? I think we were going to Antigua, And I remember my friend who'd been at the airport the same terminal the day before had said, you should get there about 4 hours beforehand because the queues are going out the building. Security is a nightmare. And I said to and he's a lot more relaxed. No, I am relaxed, but when it comes to airports, I do like to give myself time. So I said to him, I think we should get there 4 hours beforehand. He said, Mel, we don't need 4 hours. It's ridiculous. I said, honestly, I've just been told that. So now I got there. I think we compromised. I got there about 3 hours beforehand, but he still sauntered in a little bit after me. And as I got there, I thought, actually, there are no queues. Then we ended up going through this express channel and we saw there were queues, but they weren't that bad. And then we saw this, it was actually for first class passengers only, and we weren't traveling first class. He said, let's just give it a go. Anyway, we walked through, and for whatever reason, we ended up going through this one security desk. And we were literally, from arriving at the airport to getting through, was literally about 20 minutes. It never happens that quickly. And it was just amazing when we just kind of focused, because this is going to be an amazing travel experience. Whereas the reality for everyone else was the queues, was the 3 hour long wait or whatever. But I'd already set the intention that morning that it wasn't going to be that way. And it's just amazing what you can experience, even though other people are having a completely different experience.
We are moving into manifesting and creating your own reality now as well. And I know this is something that you work on a lot with your clients. Give us an example of a client that you've worked on who has been able to manifest something through the work that they've done with you, through tapping and all the things.
One of my clients, she's one of my members, she has quite a fractured, very, well, a strange relationship with her mother. And she was also at the time manifesting abundance as well, because she wanted to put kind of down payment down on a house or whatever, just wanted to manifest a kind of windfall. But a lot of my work is kind of centered around forgiveness as well, letting go of the past, healing. Forgiveness and letting go of the past are two kind of, I put them together, because if, particularly as people in our lives, we can actually hold resentment or blame towards, oh, because you did this, that's why this has happened. But she was kind of entering in this era of forgiveness. And I do like to do things around the cycles of the moon as well. So we do this kind of full moon thing in my community, where a full moon, we do letting go work. So she decided she needed to do a lot of forgiveness work towards her mother, but she also wanted to do some tapping and calling in, because she wanted to feel the support of a maternal figure. So we did some, weirdly, as I can really literally create a tapping video and anything, we tapped into calling on the support of the divine mother. So where she still felt a maternal kind of nurturing. Anyway, she did all this. She had a big release, and she did a lot of this on her own as well. She did a lot of letting go work. She said she was very emotional, but did a lot of forgiveness. Anyway, within about a week, I think, she got a letter in the mail with no return address on it, with a check for $100,000 from her mother, who she'd not seen or spoken to for the longest time. And it came with it a note. This is basically to say, this is for you to do with as whatever you want, down payment for a house, whatever. And she sent me that note privately first, because she needed to kind of like really digest it and process it and think, what the hell has just happened here? And she's since then, we've talked publicly about this story, and it was this powerful story of forgiveness release in order to kind of just get, I've never had a check for £100,000 out of the blue before, but it was because it's all connected to her mother as well. It was an incredible story of doing the work, the healing, but in order to get this incredible outcome as well, but also feeling at peace as well with her relationship with her mother.
Incredible. And what I'm hearing more and more in the stories and the conversation that we're having is that it all comes down to things that are trapped in our subconscious mind that we're not aware of, that are actually running the show. And when we start to release them, we can attract and become the person who has all the things that we're wanting. What would you say to somebody who is at the start of their journey, who is perhaps trapped in people pleasing, struggling with boundaries, not really understanding or knowing how to move forward? They feel like they don't have enough time, and perhaps they just don't know what to do next.
I think sometimes when we get, and I think it's all lessons, when life can feel a bit chaotic, or we kind of, I think the universe often gives us lessons when it's repeated. When it gets to a point where I think, do you know what, I'm not enjoying this pattern anymore, or this pattern is causing me detriment. And sometimes we can deal with this for a long time. Think about women in abusive relationships. Some, for them, the threshold for the acceptance of the what is can go on for years, and everyone's reality is so different as to what patterns you can deal with. And for some people, it's just like, I'm sick of being late all the time. I'm sick of being always turning up, disheveled and whatever. And I think life is going to give us different patterns at different times. So what is the pattern that you find yourself repeating on an ongoing basis that's got to the point that, what, I've had enough of this now and I want to do something about it? Because we will keep getting the lesson until we are ready to do something about it. And only you know when that time is. And it's just then think, okay, I'm ready to change this story now. I'm ready to change this pattern, this behavior, and it could be a health issue. It could be that you might want to change your eating habits or your weight or your relationship or whatever. Everyone's got their thing, and there's 101 things that this could be. So whatever is the thing that's causing you the most pain in your life right now, that would be the thing to work upon. And it's then, I think it's like when you're ready to do the thing, it's like being open to the right, maybe sometimes the book, you'll get recommended a book, be like, oh, that's the book I needed to read, or a YouTube video, or you'll just overhear a conversation or something. When you are ready, it's like when the student's ready, the teacher will appear, and the teacher will appear, could appear in many different guises. We both talked about Wayne Dyer before. It could be a certain thing, and then it's just like, okay, I'm ready to hear the lesson out. And it's just wherever that lesson then takes you. Sorry, I know it sounds a bit woolly, but this is relying on trust and intuition as well. I know it comes from a place place of when the pain is so great that actually there is no option than to make a change. And that's when you will do whatever it is you need to do.
Let me run this scenario by you. This is a conversation that comes up a lot with clients, that their time isn't their own and they have a to-do list. They know what they need to get done, but then the business comes to them with other priorities, other things come up. How can they deal with the emotion that comes up? Because obviously it's their job to respond, and step into their power and own their ability to be the professional, but still feeling frustrated that they're not able to do what it was that they needed to get done next.
The truth is, life happens. I've had it myself this week. I had all my intentions for certain things I was going to do this week, but then the universe had other plans and I ended up losing 2 days because just of another issue. And it's kind of like, I call, it's getting back on track again. And I think a lot of it comes down to trust and intuition as well, which are things that it's just part of the process, part of the journey. Being kind of frustrated and kind of like, oh my God, things haven't gone according to plan. That's not a very helpful mindset to be in. And I think it's just around, even though, and this could be a tapping, even though.
Let's tap it.
All right then. Okay. Even though things are the way they are.
Things are the way they are.
And life is what it is right now.
And life is what it is right now.
I choose to love and accept myself anyway.
I choose to love and accept myself anyway.
Even though
I've
been thrown this curveball. I choose to just take it on as a lesson.
I choose to take it on as a lesson.
And I know I can get back on track really quickly.
And I know I can get back on track really quickly.
And I choose to love and honor myself.
And I choose to love and honor myself.
And even though I don't like the what is right now.
And even though I don't like the what is right now.
I choose to trust.
I choose to trust.
In the what's coming my way.
In the what's coming my way.
What I can create.
What I can create.
What I have control over.
What I have control over.
And I choose to trust.
And I choose to trust.
It's all going according to perfect plan.
It's all going according to perfect plan.
And now I'd go through the points. Letting go of this feeling.
Letting go of this feeling.
That I've been thrown a curveball.
That I've been thrown a curveball.
Under the eye. Letting go of this feeling.
Letting go of this feeling.
That I've gone off track.
That I've gone off track.
On the chin. I choose to trust.
I choose to trust.
Collarbone, that everything is working exactly as it should.
That everything is working exactly as it should.
Under the arm. And I'm calling back my energy.
And I'm calling back my energy.
I'm calling back my power.
I'm calling back my power.
To focus on the things that are in my control.
To focus on the things that are in my control.
Side of the eye. I choose to know.
I choose to know.
That I'm in full control.
That I'm in full control.
I'm in full control of this situation.
I'm in full control of this situation.
Not in a controlling way.
Not in a controlling way.
But in a powerful way.
But in a powerful way.
In a gentle and powerful way.
In a gentle and powerful way.
And I choose to remember.
And I choose to remember.
Just how powerful I am.
Just how powerful I am.
And I can do all the things I need to do.
And I can do all the things I need to do.
With all the time that I have.
With all the time that I have.
And it's going to be perfect.
And it's going to be perfect.
And I choose to trust.
And I choose to trust.
And also let go of my control.
And also let go of my control.
Because it's all going according to plan.
Because it's all going according to plan.
In body, mind, and spirit.
In body, mind, and spirit.
Okay, deep breath in. And exhale. Okay, how was that?
I didn't feel stressed before, but I feel even better afterwards. EFT is amazing. Melanie, I absolutely love, love, love it. Tell me, what's something that you do with your time that you don't think that most people do on a daily basis?
So, I think I mentioned earlier, words are really, really powerful. I write out what I want quite a lot. So yes, I do a lot of tapping, but I have a special journal by my bed, and sometimes it could be just a couple of sentences, just writing out what I'm calling it. It could be like the most pressing things that's going on for me, my life right now. My son needed an emergency dentist the other day. He had a bit of an issue and needed to get to the dentist. And the narrative around dentistry is really hard to get a dentist appointment, blah, blah, blah. I'm trusting that he's going to get an appointment today. He needed one today. And he did, got one that day. And it's just, it might sound silly, but I think that morning I wrote, son's going to get, I can't remember these. I'm so happy and grateful that Ben gets his emergency dentist appointment today. I do this, again, travel, going on a car journey. I'll write out. It's almost like I've written out, I've told the universe, this is what I intend today. And it's very simple, and I do it every day. And sometimes before bed at night, just writing out what I want. I don't do journals anymore of sadness and all the stuff. Yes, there is a time and place for that. But then I will burn that piece of paper. Won't keep it in a nice journal. I'll keep a journal just for the things that I want to manifest. And sometimes it's just mundane things like a dentist appointment.
This is such an incredible top tip. Thank you so, so much for sharing. What have you got coming up over the next 6 months and into the new year?
I've got coming up very soon, my Christmas miracle experience is something I do every year between Christmas and New Year. I think this is just such a wonderful time of year for inner work, reflection. We think it's a time of parties and celebration, but actually for a lot of people, we have time on our hands to do this work. So it's 3 days. It's inspired by Charles Dickens's Christmas Carol. We spend one day, it's not a whole day, an hour each day, 3-day series, tapping on releasing the past. And this could be childhood, ancestral, past life. We go quite deep. And then we spend another day tapping into the present moment, which is how we can get present, grounded, and clarity. And then the third day is tapping into the future. What do we want to manifest? What do we want to create in our lives? So it's 3 days of really experiential. There's opportunities for hot seats to work on those. And I also do something called the Prosperity Party every year, kind of around spring, summertime, which is 5-day challenge to help you manifest money in your life. And I have a YouTube channel which has tapping videos, which I try to do weekly. I'm trying to be more systematized in this, but as and when I feel inspired to do them, usually a couple of times a month, I have new tapping videos on my channel as well. So always connect with me on my YouTube or my Instagram.
This is so exciting. And as always, nobody ever needs to worry. All of the links will be in the show notes. You will be able to do the New Year extravaganza or just tap into Melanie's YouTube channel at any point where you need to have some guidance, some instant changing of the emotion that you're feeling right now.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been absolute joy talking to you, Abigail.
Melanie, what is one question you haven't been asked that you'd like to have been asked?
What's your big vision, Mel? So shall I answer it? So my big vision is to reach 1 billion people through my tapping, through my books when I publish them and my other platforms, because I genuinely believe that if we are all tapping, it's going to raise the vibration on this planet, and we will send ripple effects out to others. Karma bosses will make karma employees, karma mothers will make karma children. And the ripple effect of one person's energy is so extraordinary that we will probably never know how much we affect other people in our lives. So I just want to get everyone tapping.
That is an incredible vision to teach 1 billion people how to tap in your lifetime. What an amazing legacy to leave.
Earlier this year, I hit the milestone of 1 million views on my YouTube channel. And for me, that's, oh my gosh, 1 million people. 1 million people have tapped with my videos. And that for me was mind blowing. And I know compared to a lot of YouTubers, it's nothing, but 1 million people. So I thought, if I can do 1 million, 1 or billion. So that's why I decided to go bigger with my goal.
That is absolutely incredible. And as I've said repeatedly, Melanie's YouTube channel is definitely a place you need to be investigating on at least a weekly basis. I am on there. So I am one of those million people tapping away to one of your incredible videos. You have so many under every single subject. Melanie Moore, thank you so much for your time. It has been incredible to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
And until next time, my friends, remember, stay safe, stay well, and it is your time. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you loved what you heard, be sure to let me know by leaving a review so I can keep the good stuff coming. Come and say hi on Instagram at Success by Design Training, or visit my website successbydesigntraining.com, or connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search Abigail Barnes. Until next time, don't forget, you are amazing and it's your time.